Today I'm looking at Tor-M1, which is an 11.3 SPA system for Russia. And I haven't actually tried playing this thing yet ever since it came out. It's been around for a little bit. But today I wanted to give this thing a try and see exactly how this performs in the game, because it looks pretty cool. I gotta say that this model looks amazing. It's such a massive system, and just as massive is the missile itself. Look at the size of this thing. It has, how heavy is this? It's 167 kilograms of mass, so it's pretty massive. It's the only missile that you get with the system, and the stats on this thing is 850 meters a second and 8.16 kilograms of TNT. And this is the only missile that you get. So you start stock with this and you end up fully spaded with this. So it doesn't really change, which is a good thing. So you get to basically experience the full 100% missile with this vehicle as soon as you start it. Several things to say about this one. I'm going to first cover some of the positives that this vehicle has, and let's start with the drones. It's very effective against drones, whether the scouting drones or the offensive drones. It takes them out no problem. Let's take a quick peek here. Taking down drones is not a problem. It's actually quite effective. You can take out any scouting drones pretty quick, and anything else in the sky, including jets, very effectively. If the jet is very high in the sky, it's probably the easiest target for this missile to hit, because you have a massive radar. You've got a really easy way to track the target. So anything that's high and visible is easy to track and destroy. It's good to take down helicopters as well, but that's not everything. This thing can actually even track down missiles and take those out as well.
Attention to the designated grid zone. Attention to the map.
So this thing you can actually use in different ways. You can just kind of go into third person and then track the sky on your own and pay attention to the radar signals. The other way of doing this is to play inside the machine itself and look at the screen, like a computer screen, that basically shows you a small window on the left corner of anything that you're watching, and also the display of the radar. And then you just track down the targets on the radar, and you can select each one and then fire off the missile as you please. I find that this way is kind of a little bit more passive. You're kind of stuck watching the screen the entire time, and it does make your job easier, because you just have to select the target that you want and fire off the missile, and then watch the screen, watch the TV of how things happen. But it does make it kind of boring sitting around waiting for something to pop up on the screen. So, but it's still effective. It's still a good way of doing it. So once in a while, it's good to spice it up and just kind of switch that kind of view but you could be very passive if you really want to and just do the LCD screen.
Повреждения. Thank you.
Цель уничтожена. Цель уничтожена.
In terms of mobility on this thing, it's actually got pretty decent speed. Again, we are seeing the same forward and reverse speeds. After I've recently covered two other vehicles where I mentioned this. This one has a 65 kilometers back and forth speed, which is impressive, and it's very nice because a machine like this, at such a massive, huge target, it's nice to be able to quickly reverse into cover, which happens often, especially when you see rockets and missiles coming your way. You want to get out of danger really quick. But as far as anything else, you are very vulnerable to pretty much anything on the ground, anything in the sky, so you gotta just be vigilant and try to stay alive as much as you can, and just try to kill the threat first. And having said that, it has positives that we've covered so far, but it also has a lot of negatives. So let's cover some of them. The first thing about this missile is that it travels at 850 meters a second, which on the surface sounds like it's pretty fast, right? It travels almost a kilometer a second. You can hit pretty much anything. But a fast jet in the sky, even if it's really high up, it seems to take a long time to reach the target, especially if they're like 10 kilometers away. You're looking at, I don't know, roughly 10 seconds, 10 kilometers, maybe 12, 13 seconds or so of travel time, which for super fast jets at 11.3 and anything in the up tiers at 12.3 are very fast. And those guys can just, you know, hang in for a couple of seconds in the sky, fire off their missiles, and quickly dive down and get away from this missile. So I find that several times I had a perfect shot, I had a perfect targeting on the jet, but the missile just took too long to get there, and the jet was able to escape. So I think the missile speed is slightly on the slower side at 11.3. It can work, but it doesn't deliver all the time. So take a look at this one and see just what I mean.
Captured most of the strategic zones.
Цель уничтожена.
Thank you.
Speed is one thing, but the other very obvious thing about this missile is that it creates a lot of smoke, which normally wouldn't be an issue. I would say 8 out of 10 times. But sometimes you cannot lock on target, so you are forced to use manual control, try to hit the target, and the smoke can really get in your way because you cannot see the enemy. So if your radar is not working, if you cannot actually lock on the target, and you try to use this manually, the smoke will obscure your vision and you may miss the target.
Attention to the map.
Цель уничтожена. Вижу повреждения. Цель уничтожена.
Another thing about this missile is that it does get sometimes distracted by the flares, like the countermeasures that the helicopters and the jets use. Sometimes you'll be tracking the target and it will be tracking it no problem, and then at some point the radar and the tracking will get distracted to the flares, and the missile will be redirected away, which is exactly what the countermeasures are supposed to do. But it is something to pay attention to, especially when you're tracking a jet, because sometimes you just have to maybe re-lock the target in order to make the missile continue to the right target.
Цель уничтожена. Есть вперед! 1-1.
So as I said, sometimes when the radar turns off, you need to be able to manually guide the target, and it can be difficult because, one, the smoke gets in your way. It's hard to tell exactly where it is, especially at long distances. And you have to be moving the mouse on the screen quite rapidly, because sometimes the jets are moving back and forth and you have to be kind of tracking them along. So it can be a challenge, but manual guidance is kind of common. I find myself several times using the manual guidance instead of radar track. Take a look.
320. Height 1,500 meters. Affirmative.
Танк 11 часов. Дистанция 600 метров.
Air 230. Height 2,500 meters.
Вижу повреждения. Цель уничтожена.
Looking at the missile specs, it also has 60.2 millimeters of penetration, which is pretty impressive, I would say. That you can hit a ground target with 60 millimeters of penetration and with 8 kilograms of TNT. So this should actually be useful on the ground, right? Like if you have a tank, if you have some kind of ground force present that you can hit from a distance, like say they're a kilometer away and you want to use this missile, doesn't work. I tried. It has, let's see, 60 millimeters of penetration, 8 kilograms of TNT, but the missile, when it hits, at least with MBTs, nothing happens. You can maybe destroy a gun, you can maybe destroy a track, but very difficult to really do any damage. And you have to be at a distance for the missile to travel upwards, because your missiles are located at the roof. So the missile fires off upwards, and then it travels in the direction that you're pointing, and then it has to come down on the target if they're not too far away. So this missile, as far as trying to defend yourself against ground units, doesn't work. It's pretty much useless. This vehicle does have 2 blind spots. Areas that you really cannot defend yourself against or you cannot see. And the first one is the space directly above, which is very common for SPAs, and that's one of the tactics that the jets and planes can use throughout the game. And at 11.3 it's no different for this one as well. If a jet is directly above you, you cannot track them with the radar. You cannot lock on them, but you are able to fire off a missile and you are able to guide it manually, but it will be very difficult to do, as I have found out for myself. So that's the first blind spot. And the second blind spot it has is that this machine cannot hit targets too close. Anything closer than 500 meters you will not be able to hit. Whether it's a plane or jet or even a drone, you just simply will not be able to hit that target. It's just way too close. It needs at least 500 meters away in order to be able to hit something.
We're controlling most of the zones.
So these are all the sides that I could see from this machine. To be honest, this was kind of disappointing. This vehicle is not very effective at 11.3. I would say that it's probably better to bring something else, which is not much of a choice. You could try the 2S6, Tunguska, even Strela. It probably would be a better option in some ways, just because it's more mobile, it's smaller, easier to move around, and it's a very effective SPA. At 11.3, I feel like it just does not really live up to the job. You are very reliant on the map because you want something that's nice and flat. Anything with hills, anything with uneven surfaces, valleys, that kind of thing, this thing will really struggle because you need high ground. And if you're on the high ground, you become an easy target. And even then, if the ground forces don't get you, then the jets and the helicopters, they will exploit the map design. Especially for jets, they just pop up, they take a look at you, they fire off a missile that they want, and they quickly go down. And if you're stuck sitting on a high ground, it's not going to be helpful to you. So this vehicle I find is only good on flat maps because it's very easy to lose track of where the jets are because they move so fast. A lot of times you have trees, you have a lot of obstructions in your way, so it doesn't get all the benefits all the time for it to be really effective. Is it fun to play? Sure it is. It's very fun to hit some targets. Nice to see this massive, powerful SPA system on the ground. It's really unique looking and something pretty cool to see in the game. But is it effective? I would say no. I would give this probably a 5 out of 10, maybe 4 out of 10, just because it's so inconsistent. It's not very reliable on a regular basis to hit the jets, which is really what you want to be doing. Anything besides that, helicopters, drones, even missiles and rockets coming in, you can hit, which is good. But the primary target, the jets, that it has some struggles. It doesn't really perform up to par to really meet the threats. But I did enjoy my time. It was actually quite funny enough, it was quite hard to really get a lot of air targets, considering the amount of games I've played. It's funny how as soon as you bring in an SPA system, all of a sudden nobody wants to play planes. Maybe that was just me. So that's Tor-M1 for today. I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.